Welcome back, everyone. Normally, I don't really address things like this, but I think today we need to talk about WallStreetBets, GameStop, and all that stuff that's going on because I think it has some implications well outside of the exciting stocks. So I do believe this is a really big phenomenon, and I'm going to kind of go through what it's doing to markets, what social media and the knock-on effects could be of risk to markets, to this channel, and my thoughts on what's going on with the brokers. So there's a bit of a range of topics to discuss today. So I'm sure most of you already know more or less what's going on, but I figured I would just sum it up from my perspective. So it looks to me like the WallStreetBets strategy is Reddit, angry mob, yelling at the top of their lungs, but some of it gets amplified, and so some of the narratives, some of the stories get picked up and get followed through. And when some people see a story like that they like, I mean, this is stocks 101. People see a story that they like and they follow it. And so obviously, there's thousands of posts that get put on WallStreetBets. Some get amplified, a very few work, and then kind of snowball into the potential for something really big like we can see. So some of the ones that gained prominence recently are where there's an obvious target. And nothing says target in the stock market like short interest of above 100%. That means the whole float has been borrowed and then sold, and then some has been borrowed twice and then sold again, meaning it would take a long time to unwind this trade if people wanted to. Well, normally, because more than 100% of the shares that have been traded would need to be rebought. Now, ironically, you look a few days ago and 200% of the entire float or the entire company would trade in a day, so it could unwind very quickly in that circumstance. But the point is, the targeting of highly shorted stocks is something that groups latched onto, and especially when they could see the villain, if you will, as like a big hedge fund or something that is short a lot of stock, it's very easy to say, okay, it's us against them, that's them, we can beat them as a team, because not only is it rallying cry for the team, but it is targeting us versus them. So in other words, they have essentially weaponized the retail aggressiveness and emotion of the situation kind of brilliantly, because most of the time people talk about certain things that are common in retail investors, either being too emotional or being, will push the price or something like that. And really, there's a lot of times out there where the biggest fish in town doesn't think they have to worry about certain types of risk, or at least not much. If you're the biggest fish, you don't have to worry about attack of minnows. It's just something that doesn't really happen. And so certain things get taken for granted. And in this case, the things that aren't going to happen because there's no one that would do it, well, are happening. So the other thing is, I wanted to clarify the GameStop situation, because I know there's a lot of people, almost everyone really, is rooting for Reddit. And honestly, in this case of Reddit versus the hedge funds, air quotes there, I am too. And to this point, they have done a surprisingly good job of pushing the line. And the thing is, I don't think it's a victory so far. I think we're in the third quarter of the game, and I just wanted to clarify that bidding up the stock doesn't add any value. Shorting the stock doesn't push the company towards a fundamental bankruptcy. Both times you're betting on where the direction of the share price is going next. And so in this way, I think that the best way, or the most likely way, for the Reddit retail to win in the end is for GameStop to help them at this point, and that would be via, in my opinion, monetizing the gift, turning the short-term, at least, excessive share price move into cash. Because otherwise you're just paying 100 times what no one wanted to buy it for a few months ago. And you know, that's not likely to be a recipe for long-term value. But if they could turn this share price gift into cash, you know, the hedge funds don't want to be shorting a SPAC. You know, a cashed up company trading at cash value could make an acquisition. They don't want to be shorting that. They want to be short a failing company. And the criticism to this point that I've seen is, well, wouldn't that give shorts the ability to cover? Perhaps, but I mean, I think covering at this share price is probably not what they were targeting when they shorted it at $5, and B, you know, what happens otherwise? What is the value gain if this doesn't happen? You know, it probably falls back eventually. Who knows where it gets to first? But if value isn't created in some way, or risk taken off the table, then this probably doesn't end well. I mean, who knows when it ends, but unless something changes, I'm not convinced that in the end the story will be how it looks right now. Now, this got me thinking a lot about social media. And you can kind of see it when some people who are quite popular reference a stock, particularly a small stock. And I try a lot to be careful with this on this channel. But there are some people that basically have a very large following and reference a very small stock, and it can move. It seems to be able to move it. So I'm kind of wondering at what point something like this, basically, at what point a Robin Hood will emerge, and with the band of merry men, the followers, would be able to cause or to organize something like this. And I think it will happen at some point. I don't know what will happen in response. I don't know when it will happen. I don't know who it will be. But I think that something like this will happen, and I'm not saying that they would be doing this with the Robin Hood motives, but it does look like something that could happen. And basically, I don't think that it would necessarily, you know, I don't think it would be too difficult to do this if the person had a strong enough understanding of markets and knew what they were looking for, because this instance has pointed out what type of problems are potential for the group, basically for groupthink to act. And the amazing thing about WallStreetBets Reddit is it's so disorganized. So disorganized. Anyone could post, and people just latch on to many ideas, some ideas, and most of them go unnoticed. So that's why it's hard. You can't just say, I'm going to go on WallStreetBets and put this idea and make $1 million, make $20 million, make $50 million. You can't do that because it is so many voices. But that's why I'm wondering what would happen if there was a leader. And I think that this will probably inspire someone to try and do something like that. I know there are people that do it on a small scale to varying degrees of success. I've seen people try it. Normally they don't have enough followers to make this big of a noise, if you will. So I think that's something that people are probably going to start looking at, probably going to start thinking about going forward. Now, for clarity, I'm not talking about little pump and dump things, because that goes on all the time. And I've seen people try that too, even on this platform. I've seen people part in that. I mean big market-moving events and things like that. And things, you know, people will continue to always talk about, you know, what stocks they're buying, what stocks, you know, why they're buying it. And I think that I don't think any of this would be necessarily illegal. And I think that might cause other issues later, because, you know, you look at what has happened legally. You know, a CEO would go on the biggest markets news platform in the world and talk about how great things are at the company and the progress they made, and then sell shares later that day. That's legal, as long as they file, apparently. Hedge funds will squeeze markets, cause prices to, play games with each other, squeeze markets. That's also apparently, legal. And so I think there's a lot of people out there that are wondering, okay, if this person could say, oh, their stock should be this price, and that's legal, what isn't legal? I mean, why is anyone talking about what the stock they're putting their money in? Why is that a problem? And I think there's a lot of defense of that point of view going around. So as far as the impacts that this has had in markets, I think this is actually causing a bit of the risk-off wave. Because you have to understand, hedge funds, they don't, it's not like they take a dollar, turn it into 10 long, 10 short. No, but they could have 120% of the money that they would have long and offset by 25% short, or 150 and 50, something like that. And the point is, if you have a bunch of people that are targeting any stock that is short and could, things could go up multiples, even the worst things can go up multiples and blow up a fund. So if you have that as a threat, well, what that means is you can't be 150% long and 50% short. You might go closer to basically, 75% long and have the cash as the other 25%. Now, obviously, this is just not professional numbers there, but it's that type of thing. So if you can't be short to protect your long, then you got to find other ways of taking risk off. And I think that is causing a bit of a wave of selling. And so, ironically, yes, I think that GameStop is breaking the market, at least short term for now. So, my Twitter feed is very hopeful that silver's next. Will it be? I don't know. In fairness, historically, that is the type of thing that, the speculative buying is the type of thing that has caused silver to move in the past, because without that type of thing, it doesn't need to. At least in the near term, at least, you look at supply, demand, where the price is now, it's well above marginal cost. So will this gather enough steam? Who knows? There's a lot of, there's hundreds, thousands of, we should do this, everyone. Not all of them work. Some of them do. But in the past, silver has been the target of this type of thing. And I would say that, look, if silver does move on something like this, you look at what the market would see when that happens. They see, okay, a targeted move on silver. Market would probably not be thinking this was super sustainable. So my guess is that if that were to happen, the multiples on the silver stocks would contract a lot. So if we're talking like, something that's 10 times now, it might go down to like 2. So beware of that. Price could stay there for a while, but if it moves on something like this, I don't think it would. But who knows? In the meantime, I'm just sitting here, my hand on my face, because I look at the favorite silver stock, which is First Majestic, and I look and the volume that it's had, 1 day's worth of that volume. If you put that in physical uranium, for example, I'm just like, wow, that would be market changing with one thing. But they've gone after silver, and we'll see if that works. We'll see if even that works. I don't even know. I don't have a horse in this game, horse in this race. Maybe I should, but I just don't know. I think there's a lot of risk even here, multi-directional risk for silver. My concern, however, is when this happened, there was all sorts of actions taken, and it seemed pretty, I mean, initially even the site went offline. There was blocking of trading and blocking of doing this. And my concern is that if this type of thing were to start in, let's say someone with 5 million viewers or 5 million subscribers on YouTube decided, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm concerned at the type of actions or broad sweeping rules that might be imposed in such an event. So I'm even more concerned if they, let's say, for example, they put in a rule, okay, you can't discuss companies with under 500 million market cap on YouTube. That's might be a problem for some, if you know what I mean. And if this gets applied retroactively, I'm thinking that personally that could be a problem, if you know what I mean. I try not to be that problem, but it could still be a problem here. Now, this may sound like a bit of an extreme case, but I'm starting to worry that there might be a non-zero possibility that this channel, in some broad sweeping action, may get blocked or something on YouTube. Now, again, I've said this a few times, try not to be too pumpy or cause any of these issues, but I don't know if in the broad sweeping actions that I might get caught up, or I might slip up and say something that's deemed not sayable. And if this were to happen, if the channel were to get wiped, I would try to continue, and I would try and do it independently elsewhere, but I'm not sure where or how. If you follow me anywhere else, I'd probably announce it there, unless I get wiped out everywhere, and I mean, I hope that doesn't happen. Now, I want to say that in this whole thing, I think Robinhood's actions and some brokers have been shameful. Now, maybe it'll come out that they were mandated to do something, but in reality, their whole business model, Robinhood this is able to exist by selling order flow to high-frequency traders. This means they profit based on fast flow of information, them having the informational edge, and them using that edge to basically get people to pay in other ways. So I think that them stepping in such a way to stop the reverse from happening when it doesn't even hurt them directly, I don't know, that's highly questionable. Now, I do understand that them wanting to de-risk their balance sheet, but I think the way the restrictions were implemented, I think it was sloppy, and I think they have to figure out how to do it without causing this issue. Now, that said, did this cause the stocks to crash? I mean, doesn't look like it to me. GameStop was higher after, and is still flat, so that didn't happen, but it certainly looked like they didn't care if it did. Anyway, that's all I really want to say on the subject, and to all of you, all the regular warnings, good luck, but be careful out there. This isn't investment advice, and everyone, have a great day.